Welcome to the Zencast. My name is Dale Pickles. I'm the host of the Zencast and I'm also the managing director of B Squared. If you are a new listener, then welcome to the Zencast. Everyone has found this podcast because you want to learn more about special educational needs and disabilities, and you want to do it in a way that fits in with your life. And the Zencast is here to help. If there is a topic we haven't covered, get in touch. In this episode, we're discussing the question, why do so many professionals believe they are right? Discussing this with me is Tigger Pritchard. Tigger is a neuroaffirming advocate, consultant and trainer who is passionate about reducing anxiety for all. And when I say passionate, you should see all the volunteer work he does. There is a lot of it. The Zencast is created and produced by us here at B Squared. We are the assessment people. We help to show the small steps of progress pupils with SEND make. And we help schools to show progress for a wide range of abilities and ages. If you're a primary school struggling to show progress or struggling to identify why people isn't making that progress, then we can help identify those barriers. Did you know you can use B Squared's assessment software for more than just pupils with SEND? You can now assess all pupils in a primary school in one system, simplifying the whole assessment process, saving you time, saving you money. Visit the B Square website or click on the meeting link in the show notes to book a meeting with me to take you through our assessment software and how it can help you. But now, let's get on with the podcast. On this week's show, we're discussing why do so many professionals believe they are right? My guest is Tigger Pritchard, a neuroaffirming advocate, consultant and trainer who is passionate about reducing anxiety for all. And apparently this podcast helps reduce his, which is great. Tigger has over 36 years of personal and professional experience of working alongside, learning from and advocating for neurodivergent individuals. And Tigger has been nominated for several awards for all the work and volunteering he does around neurodiversity. Welcome to the show, Tigger.
Hello. We have to be honest here and say we're doing two in a row. So we've spent the morning together already. And we obviously, you'll hear from previous podcasts, if it goes out first, we've met in real life at the autism shows. We reasonably get on. We go off on some amazing tangents, which is terrible. With each podcast, we've spoken for it seems like 3 hours beforehand. And I was just saying now, press record, we'll never stop talking. Press record, otherwise we'll never stop talking. We'll never get this done. Thank you so much. And I was saying about fate as well. I think it's really great for me that I'm doing these recordings after we've met in real life because it just makes it so much better. And I'm having a blast. And I would do this all day, but we'd both be exhausted, I expect. But it's such good fun. But now, we did my autistic journey as the first one. Now, wow, that's a title, isn't it? That's a title which might offend, which might get people's backs up, but to me, it's such a huge, important part of my reality as an autistic professional in 2024 that some professionals are fixed with their belief systems, with what they understand autism. I'm obviously dislike intensely autism spectrum condition and autism spectrum disorder. I'm okay with autism to a certain extent. I love autistic because I am autistic. I do not have autism. That's me personally, and what a lot of other advocates I know do, but that's very much what I am, who I am. But there is, I say as well, I've never met a bad professional. What I meet is a professional who is either a product of their training or a product of their journey. And we're all on journeys. It's just that I know some professionals that are great and put their hands up and go, I'd love to know more. I'd love to explore that. And there's some professionals that literally, and we're going to explore these, I suspect, bring the brick walls down. No, don't want to know, not going to go anywhere. We've got this champion, we've got that champion. I've been on that training. This is what autism is. I know for a fact. And whatever it is, the pushback, is that the right term, from the autistic community and our allies is causing some major ripples, I think, across the globe. And some professionals are really great with it and some professionals are not. But the damage I see done to families and children from those professionals and organisations that are not happy to learn and grow and listen and travel alongside. A professional that listens and then travels alongside a family or an autistic individual or my fellow autistic advocates, they are so important as a professional individual. They're so important to the journey. Unless we work together, we're not going to make that change. But almost every week, I get a phone call from a parent who's in agony. I can't think of a better term. Who's in a really difficult place because a professional, any professional they meet, has said to them, "No, you are wrong. This is," and that is something I guess I'd like to explore here.
So that's the thing is, if you're listening to this podcast, I can already tell you're not one of those people. I already know that. Yeah. People Tigger is talking about are the people who went on a course in 1987, 1992, and learnt what autism is. And that is a fixed, solid, unwavering understanding of this is what autism is, and anything which isn't this is wrong. And that's what I come up with, is someone's maybe learnt something and have stuck with it. And I don't like many quotes. I'm not looking like film quotes. I love them. But actually kind of, people just pull out some quote from Aristotle or whatever, or Socrates or something. No. There's one I love from the film, The Big Short, and it's my favourite one, which is just, I love it. It's not what you don't know that gets you into trouble. It's what you know for sure that just ain't so. And that's a Mark Twain quote.
That's beautiful.
And it is where you think this is the way it is, and it's not. That is what gets you into trouble. And it's the same thing with what we're talking about here.
But I've got to get in there and say, look, what frightens me the most and troubles me the most is that training you spoke about in 1980 and 1990 is being delivered this morning somewhere in the UK in 2024. And that's what frightens me. Free online training. Free online training. A friend of mine for a large organisation sent me some screenshots the other week. I went, wow, we've got autism awareness training. Have a look at these screenshots. And I went, are you going to deal with it? And they went, yeah, I am. And they were pathologizing. They were be normal, fit in, all that kind of jazz. What frightens me is that what was there in the 80s and 90s is still considered by so many organizations and people and professionals as still being up to date, and it's regurgitated today. And that frightens me. Why?
So I was told a story, and this happened within the last week, where a professional with an apparent autism qualification told someone who was undiagnosed, they'd never had a conversation around autism ever, told this person that they were autistic, and then held their hands up. Like when someone says, I caught a fish this big, they got their hands up. Yeah. And they said, this is autism. This is a spectrum, but drew it as a scale. Spectrum. Held their hands up and then told him where he was on that spectrum, like it's a linear scale, and went, that's you. And it was like, there's no such thing as there's no line. It's not a scale. It's a spectrum, 360 degrees, probably 3D as well. So let's throw that in.
Oh, yeah. I like that.
And the way you throw that in, this is you. And I'm like, okay, so that's basically saying this is you and you're wrong, or this is you, I don't have to listen to you. It's just everything about the way that was presented is wrong.
It's just we live in a society where, as an autistic individual, no matter what age, especially children in education and so on, you need to jump through particular hoops, be it the language you use, or the forms you fill in, or the criteria you meet and so on, in order to get resources, to get a response, to get money, yeah? So I remember one parent said to me that they see the diagnostic process for their child as being educational currency, yeah? Yep. Which is quite an interesting term itself, right? But without the hoops they jump through, they won't get the support at school, and it goes through for adults as well, with adjustments at work, even with the laws in place, so on and so forth. And so I can get that. What I don't get, what I don't understand, and I just can't get my head around it, is why some professionals refuse to entertain that a pathologizing medical-based model of who we are, i.e. we're deficit-based, as ADHD, autistic, neuroaffirming, whatever, is wrong and out of date and needs to be modified. I think the quote I often give is in 1977, I think, and I might be wrong here with that, my slides in front of me. In the DSM, the Diagnostic System Manual of Mental Health Disorders, whatever it is, which version I can't remember, being homosexual was in the manual in 1976 or something as a disease to be cured, and then it was taken out. Progress, yeah, thank God. Why are so many professionals adamant that so many parents I meet who are well-informed, so many individuals who are well-informed, so many people like myself, who have to keep up to date, who entertain. My understanding of what it means to be autistic has changed in 5 years and will do in the future because I try and keep up to date, yeah? I don't understand is why so many professionals refuse to listen to anybody else. And, if that training's still out there, if the media regurgitates stuff, or the majority of media does, and it goes on, you can see that you surround yourself by like-minded individuals and information. Therefore, it's difficult to change your attitude, your outlook. I love a professional that does. I hug them with their permission. But what I don't understand is again and again and again, especially in education, you meet people that go no. Yeah, I know one county in Britain. I think for exclusion from schools, they would take families to court. 1 year, I think the bill for that county or LEA, whatever, and I'm terrible with that slides, I apologise. I think it was somewhat like, £4,000. The next year, the bill was £44,000. And this was what these organisations, these, counties were fined because the judge went, actually, no, that child has a right to education and you're doing it wrong. And if you want to go to the very basic, money can be saved if some professionals would just listen to the autistic community and really cool, well-informed parents and individuals and families. So what I don't understand is why there's that continual refusal to do so, and the damage, like FII, fabricated induced illness. I hear it mentioned almost every week. Do you know what I mean? And that's not the ratio that's out there, so to speak. And I just think to myself, you can tell I get really worked up by this, yeah? I'm sorry, people out there. Sorry, this is getting deep again. I hear parents crying. I see parents crying. I see parents who lose relationships. I see parents who have major mental health issues and so on because they have a professional, not all professionals, but one of the professionals we're on about, whatever professional it is, standing in front of them and going, you are wrong and this is how your child should behave and you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. And I to this day, I've had this conversation many times, I still don't understand why. You can look at it with, the peer route, the reinforcement, that medical model. I know some you said you had an autism specialist say, here you are on the line. I know autism specialists. I said in the other one, I've got used to doing Canva. And one of the slides I've been sharing are things like, the majority of research about neurodivergent individuals is done by non-neurodivergent individuals.
Yep.
Practically the majority of training about being autistic is delivered by non-autistic people. Yep. And in talks, what I often do, I did this in Cardiff the other day, I'll stop the talk and I go, right, do you know what? Let's stop this talk about what it means to be autistic and Tigger's autistic journey. Let's talk about the menopause. I'm going to talk to you about the menopause, what it's like to go through the menopause, what it's like to, and I go, I can, show you some slides, but can I actually tell you? Yeah? Can I tell you what it's like to be a person of colour? And go on, I cannot. If you're an autistic individual, I can tell you my autistic experience, an autistic experience of my fellow neurokin as examples and so on, and help and signposts, which I love doing and so forth. But I just, going back to that bit again, I just don't get why some professionals actively, dogmatically refuse to grow. That's how I see it. I just can't. Money, etc. I don't know. I'm stuck.
To me, we're talking about kind of two groups. There's ones who kind of don't believe in autism and kind of going, oh, they're just naughty. There's that group.
Yeah.
But then there are people who are maybe autism professionals and in theory are there to support autism. However, I'm going to give you two kind of red flags, which if you see these for autism training, walk away. The first one is the jigsaw symbol. If you see the jigsaw symbol, walk away. Yeah, I won't go. You can do your own research into the jigsaw symbol and what it means. But basically, it means you're not complete, you're missing, you don't fit in. There's various understandings, but no one likes it. So when you say this to someone and they go, well, I like it, so I'm still using this, what you're basically saying is, I don't really care. So if you still see that symbol, walk away. The other one is if during their session or in the information, it has the phrase, all autistic and continues, walk away. There is no such thing as all autistic people have something. We do not. There is nothing, one thing that everyone has. No, it's a spectrum. It's all different. So you can't start it with all. Most, some, typically, fine.
My experience, yeah. I mean, the puzzle piece, I've got, on my website, I've got current terms and images, and it gives you the history of the puzzle piece from the 60s, all the rest of it. We're on a journey. I have friends who have puzzle piece tattoos and so on. I respect that they do. They know that I don't. But we're on a journey. And I do say, read this, have a look at that, whatever, yeah? But you're right, my hackles, is that the right term? Will go up the minute I see the puzzle piece. The minute I see have autism. The minute I see anything that I consider neural conversion therapy, they must mask, they can't stim, they must fit in, that kind of jazz. My hackles go up big time, yeah? And I mean, like I said, the free online stuff, it's devastating. It's like, it's what I think is with any of the minority group, we would not suffer, or society wouldn't let us suffer the same kind of annihilation, if that's the correct term. It's me being very passionate at the moment, I think. So like I said, we have a person who's not autistic telling me how to be autistic. Yeah, hang on a minute. We have people reading PowerPoints and they've never had an overload or a meltdown or shutdown or, and the rest of it. They've never hyper-focused. They don't understand monotropism, and it goes on and on, yeah? And I just think, maybe I'm being naive, surely a good professional would want to know and learn and grow. So I shared another thing the other week about, there's a lot happening in the autism community, and it's happening a lot, I think, because of the pandemic and Zoom and Teams, and we've talked more and we've grown more. And I think that the community globally has grown an awful lot because of social media and this ability to, even though we're hundreds of miles apart, we natter and talk and so on. So a lot of new things have come up, a lot of things have been shared and so on. And I think it's a few awesome advocates I know say this, the money of autism is huge, right? The money of autism is huge. So when I was mucking about with Instagram, I'm very bad at Instagram. For those that follow me, I'm sorry, I forget sometimes I'm doing it. Does it automatically from Facebook? And I put a post out going, oh my God, Blue Tack have made sensory autism-friendly Blue Tack. They brought out special, not just Blue Tack. They brought out autism-friendly Blue Tack, says he holding his Blue Tack. Oh my God, right? It's only $29.99. And the bit there is, the minute you put autism in front of something or sensory in front of something, you quadruple the price, yeah? So the money around autism is huge. And part of me has to say, is part of this, and you can help me with this one, is part of this money, is part of this fear, is part of this power, is part of this, I don't know. It's got to be, part of it to me has to be the money and power aspect, because if I come along and say, actually, I haven't got a degree in autism. And by the way, I know autistic individuals with a degree in autism, and they're still not listened to because they're not neurotypical, yeah? And again, I have to caveat this and say, I know some professionals that are beautiful and gorgeous and awesome. And I am fond of labels, and I'm not. I like the day when we're not going to be there, but classed as neurotypical, who have embraced to change, who listen to the community and grow and travel in the community. They are so, so important. But I also know professionals that go, no, you're on a line and you're there. You have Asperger's, yeah, and all the rest of it. So fear, money, what do you think?
Well, part of it, I also think there's the autistic, there's the neurotypicals, and they're the not diagnosed yet, which might be the ones who are putting up this wall because it's black and white.
Interesting.
And I'm using a stereotypical autism trait of black and whiteness, but it's that this is my understanding and that's that, and I've learned this, so I'm staying here. Sometimes and that's the thing, and you'll see this when maybe when a child be diagnosed, one of the parents are going, no, they're not autistic. It's just that's the way everyone is. It's like, No, it's not. No.
Mm.
You and your child are like that because you're both autistic. And that's that. You often have that person not realizing within themselves they struggled with school. They struggled their entire life. They're autistic. When you're saying this about their child, they're going, well, they're just like me and I'm not autistic. And then the light bulb bit might come a year or two later. And I know I've just generalized and it's not always the way and things like that. But you have these people who don't see it because they are having the same sort of things and they are undiagnosed.
Yeah, I've got to say, there. I don't want to mention names. I think that's rude. But there are some greats out there in the professional world that, the natter on the community is, well, they're obviously neurodivergent. They just don't know it. And they might be postulating certain theories. I don't want to go there with names. I think that's
Yeah.
But there's a lot of debate out there. Oh, yeah, really? Oh, yeah. And so you can see that as well as a reason being why. But I have had beautiful parents say, especially around PDO, I'm going to be honest, say, oh, we've got this guy called Tigger. He's been really helpful in the family. They're very kind. And we'd like to get him into school for an hour. We're willing to pay. And the schools go, no, we've got an autism specialist, or we don't believe in PDA, or we've got our own autism champion. I know some schools that are beautiful enough and open doors to me and my advocates across the country. I know other schools that literally slam the doors in your face and say, we do not need your input. We are not going to use those approaches here. Everybody has to wear the same socks, the same uniform, the same, and it goes on, yeah? And you think, really?
See, if I was delivering autism training, it would be really quite short. It would basically be this. Autism means you're different. I can't tell you how they're going to be different. There's nothing I can provide you, apart from, to quote Ted Lasso, be curious, not judgmental.
Yeah. The dark one. The dark one. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
That is straight up there with one of my best quotes ever. And you can literally look at it. If you think about autism, you can go on that autism training course, and it might say all or the typical traits. And if you look at the NHS criteria, and you mentioned sensory overload and meltdown, as far as I'm aware, I've not had them. As far as I'm aware, I've not had them. So when you go to the autism show and the National Autistic Society have their autism experience and all this experience, and someone else has you can go in here and put these, that's not autism. That's a sensory overload experience. That's not my autism. And that's the thing is, if you put those goggles on and learn all about sensory overload and then apply that to me, we're literally wasting time.
I must confess, I never tried that one.
And you can go on YouTube and you can watch a video of what it would look like. And you might look there and go, actually, that's quite a good my best thing to kind of explain autism, and I loved Chris Packham's series.
I have to say,
that has been the best, one of the best things in the media for autism. When
it's been well watched. I guide people to it. I will say as a caveat, because I'm terrible, lucky enough to have met him a couple of times and bonded over T-shirts and dogs, which is cool. And he did the awesome intro to Joe's book that her son did, which is incredible. Yes. Yeah, very kind. The programs I think the third series is on ADHD, which comes out next year. Yeah, which is cool. That's what I've read on the social media based stuff. Yeah, I will say the programs were great. I will say, my apologies, that the resources that came with them were not. But the resources weren't provided by him; they were provided by somebody else. But the shows are brilliant.
What I loved about it is I literally, when I watched it, the comedian, the woman who stood up there on the stage and had those conversations in her head, I'm going, that's me. That is literally me. Yeah. While I'm podcasting, that is going on in my head. That is me in every single conversation. That is me to a T. Then I watched the other three and I went, that's not me. So my colleague John, I went, which one are you? He went, On the Time. That literally is me. If I miss a train, if I can't do something, that's my day over. I want to go back to bed.
Mm.
And it is just, I know it's only 4 flavors of autism, but it is more than we've mostly been discussed in the media.
I think it's just, we spoke in the previous one about, the media representation. If it could be changed, it would be gorgeous. I think that, Chris Packham shows have made a huge difference to the public, because it's the public knowledge is Rain Man.
Yes.
Yeah, which at its time was a great movie, opened doors, we're on a journey. I can remember standing outside the cinema in Truro, handing out leaflets to the National Autistic Society in whatever year it was, in the rain, if memory serves, on marble steps, handing out leaflets. This is the local NES branch in Cornwall, blah, 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 blah. We've moved on since then, yeah? But still a lot of the media representations are just stereotypical and a bit out of date. We need a decent stereotypical kind of like representation of what it means to be autistic. Of some autistic individuals, because, we're all beautifully the same, beautifully different at the same time. But I just think that going back to, we seem to be leaping forward in some ways, but it's just going back to, it's because the other day I listened to a parent on the phone and she'd had it. She'd had enough. Trigger warning. She'd had enough of battling in school. She couldn't take it anymore. She had to give up work. She'd lost her job. All because the professionals were saying, he's not like this at school. You're saying he's like this at home. A, you're telling lies. Yeah. B, he's got to be in school. And if you're not sending him to school, you're breaking the law. None of that was being neuro-inclusive at all. And that showed very clearly that the professionals that said they understood autism did not. But the damage they did, this is what I just, the damage that's been done is terrible. And if you want to be, obtuse thing as well, the money being wasted, the time being wasted, you've got professionals that are stressed as well. It's a win-win story for everybody if we just listen and learn from each other, yeah?
Okay, so when we're recording, which is at the end of July in 2024, in the last week, in lots of newspapers, there's been research talking about curing autism.
Oh, yeah, whoa. Okay, trigger warning. Right, yeah.
And I was like, what? And I as on our previous podcast, Tigger says he's got an O level. I have most of my GCSEs and 2 A levels, and that's the end of my academic career because it just didn't fit me. Doesn't mean I'm stupid, doesn't mean I'm sick. Just it didn't suit me because of the way it was. I spent my entire life learning, and I'm always learning. And I saw this. It came up on LinkedIn, and I went straight to the research and read through it all. And 2 20-month twins went through a test. I don't know what the test is. They obviously performed various things on them. How they responded, they scored very highly. They then controlled the diet. I think went down an ABA style approach.
Oh, this is trigger warnings.
Basically, kind of, they talk about multidisciplinary, but basically making them conform. And then did a test, and the scores reduced. So therefore, that's curing autism because the external input, the external actions could be changed. Yeah. By doing all of this, they've stopped doing all the things we don't want them to do. That's not autism. And I literally went to reply and I went, I'm out of my depth, but I know that this is a complete waste of time and money. That if we came back a year later and did a test, they'd probably be autistic again because you haven't taught them the correct way of doing the new things they haven't learnt yet. And then you'd fix that and then come back a year later, they'd be autistic again and repeat. And it's like, but also they're 20 months old. So we actually don't know what this is kind of internally doing. We talked about masking on the previous thing. If those children have their masks on for their entire life, that is going to be, and they don't even aware of, that's going to have a negative impact.
Terrible. Grotesque.
And we can talk about suicide with autism and loads of other things. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's got picked up by all the newspapers, this article.
I know.
It's like, oh, so autism can be cured because it wouldn't be like, oh, God, we've just gone back probably about 10 years.
So, I went on a course, and you guess you're going to have to put a trigger warning out of this podcast as the content we're talking about. I went on a course in the 90s called Holding Therapy, which reinforced Bruler and other people. If I said his name right, I'm terrible at pronouncing names. Hence, I make something else like. And the idea was that a parent would be locked in a room with a child, and the parent would hold the child against their will to basically to re-engage the bond with that child. Because the reason why that child's autistic is they didn't bond properly with the parent, usually the mother. I still hear that parent blame, mother blame in 2024. It hasn't gone away, and it's 100 plus years old. So I have many therapies, but the thing that gets me is that again reinforces to me the training that's out there, the approaches that are out there, the diagnostic process, everything says we shouldn't exist. Eugenics, all the rest of it. Spectrum 10K, won't go there if you know about that. It's all very worrying. And if you look at, I get this wrong, so I don't do maths. I love physics and cosmology and astronomy, but I can't do maths. So I've got like Kip Thorne's book and Penrose's and Hawkins that. I look at the maths and I get lost. But if you look at a meter rule, I think 95 centimeters of research about autism isn't about what causes it by neurotypical individuals, professionals. You've got maybe, this is where I lose it, you've got maybe 4.98 centimeters done by how to help neurodivergent individuals on a day-to-day basis. And you've got the rest, which is basically a pinhead done by, neurodivergent professionals. Because we're ignored, pushed out. There was a panorama thing, Newsnight thing, several months ago on it, how, a lot of autistic researchers are being pushed out. And again, it goes back to fear, difference, all the rest of that in the mix as well. I know there are finishing schools. I call them neural conversion schools in the globe, where people send their autistic children to, and when they come out, they're not autistic. Great, and they pay a lot of money for it. And those exist across. You're going to have to put a trigger warning out on this one, I tell you, or even a Tigger warning. I mean, that makes me feel sick. That if I was in some cultures, some communities, I with a rich enough parent, I'd be sent to finishing school to get the autism out of me. It's bad enough that I've masked for decades.
Yes,
along with so many of my newer kin, that to know that, and like you said, I actually haven't shared it yet. I read it. I read that article. It was like Spectrum 10K. I went, oh, hang on a minute. I automatically got anxious and scared. I haven't even been able to read any more about it. I haven't been able to share anything about it because I find it extremely triggering. I find it really, because basically there's a batch of society that says you and I shouldn't exist. What is it? Old culture times chucked out on the hill and left to die. Do you know what I mean? That isn't the kind of society I want to live in.
But it's interesting because you sit there and people go, oh, autism, why is it so popular now? What's happened? Is it what we've been eating? Is it this? It's like, no, it's been there. It's the way we live our lives is what kind of doesn't help. And there's various factors. So you can't just say one thing. If you look at kids' TV and various things, and the medical model, it basically means the child is always like this, or the adult is always autistic. They're always destructive. It depends on the environment. It depends on the situation. It depends on so many factors. If that person could be perfectly fine 80% of their life, but when you're put in that environment, they really, really struggle. Is it the environment that's the problem, or is it the person that's the problem?
I must admit, this is my favourite quote ever. When I first read it, I thought, my God, I wish I'd thought of it because it's spot on and simple. And Dr. Luke Bairden was one of the speakers at the Autism Show in Manchester, was it, I think? Or London, I can't remember now. Anyway, got the photographs of him, seen him many a time, love his stuff. I change it sometimes to neurodivergent plus the environment equals the outcome. But it's a beautiful quote, autism plus the environment equals the outcome. That outcome might be positive or negative, but if we want it, blah, 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 you cannot change your autistic person. And so many approaches, so many professionals, so many so-called therapies, neurodivergent-led are wear the same clothes, wear the same socks, wear the same school uniform, sit still, don't stim. It is, you have to fit in. You have to be the same as everybody else. And we know for a fact that if you get it right, autism plus the environment can equal something. And there's another quote by Rosie, somebody, my apologies for not getting names right, and I'm sorry, but she does a wonderful slide that says that autistic people can. Yeah? You get the diagnostic process, you can't. She crosses out the can't and puts can, and it's autistic people can. And I love that because we can. We just need the right environment. And part of that environment has to be the diagnostic process, the identification process, the teaching, the training that's out there. And again, to quote another friend of mine, Ian, that I think it goes back to other individuals I know. So the money of autism is huge. The money of autism is huge. And the other thing I get, and like I said earlier on, the other thing I get is that, I have friends who have degrees in autism studies, whatever, from great universities that worked with Luke and other great individuals and so forth, got those degrees, who are still as professionals ignored by their professional peers because they're, so it's like, what can we do? What's enough? Oh yeah, well you don't know what you're talking about. You haven't got a degree. You're autistic. You don't know what we're talking about. I've got a degree, yet you still don't know what you're talking about. Hang on a minute. When is enough for us to be listened to? And that's something I find fascinating too.
Going back to kind of you can't change what is it? Katrina, who was on here from Neuroteachers, it was an amazing bit of thing, and it is so true. And I'd love to find the actual full reference to it if it is somewhere. 6 out of 10 behavior issues in the room are caused by the adult. Yeah, if you change the environment, if you change your expectations, I'm not saying less expectations, it's the how generally. Yeah, it's how you're expecting something. Things like that. It's not saying have less, just tweak how you're expecting it and things like that and be more flexible, and most of them will disappear. Like it's not so I could have got a degree. I know without a doubt I could have gone and got a degree. It's the how I would have had to do it didn't work for me.
Yeah.
And where I am now, I'm happy with my path. But I also look back and go, I didn't have a choice. That wasn't my choice. I wasn't given the option. That option was taken away from me because I didn't fit in. And in going back to, and I don't know if I've said before, but like ADHD were amazing going back to caveman era. Because when you're telling stories around the campfire, they're the only one who's half listening and hearing the twig snap somewhere else. And going, what's that? And alerting everyone. So there are medieval, ancient, blah, blah reasons. It's like really good defense. That's who you want on your watch. And what I've said a few times on the podcast is the Trojan horse had to be, that idea had to come from a neurodivergent person.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? I mean, there's I can't remember the exact quote, but somebody said to me, "Guess who invented the wheel?" Right? Because that's somebody thinking as if there's no box. It's a quote from somebody else I know, and I thought, oh, I like that.
But the whole Trojan horse of I've got an idea. What is it? We're going to build a wooden horse and get in it.
What?
You've been drinking again. No, trust me, it's going to work. To have the idea, to do it, everything is like that's not a typical. That's not a follow the rules. And you can get with so many people. If you look back, you're literally going, "Oh, actually," and that's the greater understanding. So I watched A Beautiful Mind.
Oh yeah, mathematician. Yeah, got the book. Yeah,
lovely. And I'm watching it, and I know he's I can't remember if it's schizophrenia or so. I can't remember which one it is.
Yeah,
but I'm watching it, going, I swear he's autistic. And it's interesting. They're now looking back and going, actually, now we look back on his life and all the information we have, he was autistic as well.
So yeah, I think, but if you accept as a society, for whatever, so if you accept neurodivergent individuals have played a major part in why we have a computer, a laptop, the space race, geek stuff, technological stuff, geek life, and technological stuff, and so on and so forth. That major, the production line, Henry Ford, cars, that kind of jazz I've read before, and so on and so forth, and various scientists and artists and so on. If we accept that being different has really enriched the species, then why do so many professionals spend their time going, no, you cannot be different. No, you must fit in. No, you need to be fixed. No, you're wrong. And the list goes on and on. And is it the money of autism? Is it fear? Yeah, I think you're right in saying there are some professionals I meet and I sit there and I go, I think you're a bit neurodivergent, mate. And there's a lot of talk on the global community about who is and who isn't, yeah? And that, I think, will certainly play part of it as well. But there are some individuals who pathologically, there you go, if that's the right term to use, are frightened of people standing up for their rights as a culture, as an autistic culture, standing up for our rights and wanting to work with people and change the narrative. I know there's one school I know in Cornwall, I better not mention it, but they are gorgeous. They have stimming toolboxes in their classrooms. And each child neurodivergent has their own stimming dictionary and what they need, and they get stimming. It's just. The first time I went in there, I said to the head, "Can I hug you?" And he went, "Oh, go on then." And I hugged him. And I went, "This is so cool." And I go in other schools where it is, you must wear the same socks, you must sit still, you must look at the teacher, you must all be the same. And I think I read there's one school that does the uniform and pencil case check before you enter the school to make sure you get everything you should have. that predictive from a negative viewpoint. So it's the question of why do some professionals dictatorially, forgive me for using that word, think they're right? Sorry,
But Tigger,
because
you have to admit, if you and me were both in full suits with ties and the right socks, this podcast would have been so much better.
Oh God, yeah, and a clipboard.
Yep, it would have made such a difference to this podcast. Or not.
Yeah,
or not.
Yeah. And of course, how can some people learn from this? How can people learn from your podcast as they're not looking at you? Yeah,
yes.
if they're going to look at you in the eyes, then they can't learn from you. So your podcasts are a waste of time.
I know every listener I send a pack of googly eyes to so they can stick them somewhere and make eye contact with me.
So why is the outdated stuff there? And why do some professionals, I've got to say it again, those professionals that don't, they are so important, because only by working alongside each other can we really change the narrative. And I think every minority group has seen that, can really change the narrative by communities coming together. But why do some professionals, I'm sorry, I feel like sometimes, and again, this is me and my perception, I apologise, it seems like some professionals actually go out of their way to destroy individuals and families. And because I listen to people, I've met people over the years and seen the damage that's been done.
I mean, Asperger's, that phrase has gone away, and I kind of understand, but I kind of go, well, can you have a different phrase, please? And whatever, because it's like autism is a huge spectrum. And I think, but again, talking to Adriana going, actually, no, we are one. But and yes, it is a whole high functioning and low functioning and all this. There's all these battles going on of, oh no, like when various celebrities come out as autistic or ADHD.
ADHD is a lot, yeah.
And then you got people going, well, they don't represent me because they're high function and all this lot. It's like, but it's like, and I think some people is, unless your child or a person cannot make all those stereotypical things and cannot access school, they are not autistic. And my colleague John, who now I'm 99.900% sure he's ADHD, he was sitting there going, and he knew he didn't fit in. The whole of his life, you talk to him in the way he is, and he's going, yeah. And we were working with an autism organisation, and he just sat there and went, look, I think I'm autistic because of blah, 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 blah. And that person responded with, no, you're just kind of extremely mannish or manly.
Oh, that goes back to a theory from many years ago, the male brain theory. Do you know what words
it's crushed him, because he was like,
oh no.
And that thing you hear, it crushed him. He's like, oh, I thought that was not, but no, I'm not. I'm just, and it was really, it's really weird. Basically, I'm rigid. I like things a certain way. It's like, actually, no, that's not. And he's ADHD without a doubt, as we've learned more and I've learned more and he's learned more. It's like, yeah, it's really obvious. But it was just the way it was delivered and off the cuff, and I just found it. He's neurodivergent. It's why we get on. He literally, during his interview, he was like, can we talk geek? And I'm like, yeah. 2 hours later, the interview finished. But basically, he's been one of my closest friends since for 14, 15. It's just been amazing. But we get on because we're both neurodivergent. And for that person to say that, it's heartbreaking.
There's Damien Milton's bit, and a mate of mine called Ben from Autisticality, and I love sending people to other people. He does a beautiful image where you've got aubergines chatting together and potato heads chatting together, and everything's fine. With an aubergine and a potato meat, that's double empathy problem, and it's a bit more complex because they're just two different types, And that is cool by me. Lovely theory, not theory as I understand it, but the power that some individuals have over a person's identity, their culture, is huge. You would not say to somebody, you're not a woman, you're not a person of colour. You would never say that. But people very rarely say, as I said on previous, somebody said it to me, or we said it when we were in Atrium, and it greatly affected me, you're not autistic. And you think, hang on a minute, and it's on my website, and I say, but I am in a position of privilege. I self-identify as an autistic individual. Think autistic ADHD. I self-identify. I work for myself. I'm in a position where I can do that. I may well one day get a bit of paper, but I don't know. I certainly don't need it now. I often say to people, if you're at work or education, you've got to get it because it's currency, which is a term I don't like, but it fits quite well. But I think that, how dare somebody else question my identity as a human being? And I find that really offensive. But the other thing I was saying was words come and go. I really love the word neuroaffirming at the moment. And was chatting to somebody online the other day, and they kind of went, you know what, that'll go at some point. And they're right, it will. Because I've travelled the journey, because I'm slightly older than you. Wasn't it last time I said people won't believe it? Well, I said it this time. Yeah, they will. But I've gone through the holding therapy. I've gone through the ABA. I've gone through the don't surround people with autism with bright colours because it stimulates them, and other stuff like that, and so on. I've been through all that journey as a professional, as an individual. It's the autistic community that has helped me the most, without a shadow of a doubt. My fellow neurokin are heaven, and they all know where they are. But everything that seems to be out there is, you shouldn't exist, you shouldn't fit in, you shouldn't be here, you've got to conform. And here we are in 2024, and as you said, trigger warning again, an article comes out and says, we can cure autism.
And again,
it's like,
everything you're talking about of you're not autistic or we can cure autism, every single thing is based on what can be externally observed, not what's going on inside your head. And if you go back to the DSM where you needed to cure being gay and it was a crime and things like that, and you had all the things, it's literally sort of like someone might act straight, but you're not changing what's going on in their head. They may conform, they may get married.
Yeah.
But underneath, what is going on in their head is different to the next person. But everything, if you think about all the curing that you're not autistic, it's all they're doing is based on what they're seeing, you're not autistic because in theory, I'm not autistic because you won't let me be autistic because I have to perform in a way that you want me to.
There's a quote from somebody. It was a while ago. I can't remember who did it, but they started off a talk. I can't remember who it was. I'll remember afterwards, I hope. But it was, I found a cure for autism. And we're all sitting there going, well, okay, I found the cure for autism, right? I found the cure for autism. You know, when that autistic person has their favourite place, like my Autie den, or a room, or outside, wherever it may be, so I know how to cure Tigger's autism, right? I know how to cure Tigger's autism. Take him to his Autie den and shut the door and walk away. Yeah? And because I'm in my safest of places, I don't have to mask, though it's more complex. And I stim in here and I do my, my tap in and my words. I've stimming words I love, slightly bark fast. I love that word. It sounds rude, but it's not, but it sounds so rude. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, yeah, I'm that generation. But literally, in my safest of places, which is my Autie den, or it can be outside in the wild, by a lake, by the side of Snowdon, or Uwidfa and stuff like that. I said it right. Then is Tigger autistic? So I understand that bit as well. It's just that, why do professionals hunt for the cure for autism? Why does the media then spread it all over the pages? Okay, gets people buying the papers, that kind of jazz shit. And why do so many professionals stick with, no, you have a triad of impairment, you're diagnosed with, you cannot do, you have difficulties in. No, but there are some professionals I know, in Cornwall and a few other counties I know, that are now diagnosed as individuals, and they say you have differences in, and you're really good at. The difference that says to a child's mental health and their family's self-worth and so on is huge. But no, the majority is you can't do.
But until you get to that diagnosis, is you're naughty, you're bad, and you've got bad parents, and just try harder, get the diagnosis, you just can't.
Yeah, why?
None of that is true.
There's that other quote, and again, I think it's from the ADHD Society. I don't know. My apologies, ADHD UK or something. It's about an ADHD. By the time they're 13, they've received something like 28,000 negative comments about who they are. Yeah.
But personal experience, I can completely say that is true.
And what does that do to your self-worth? Do you know what I mean?
I'm still trying to rebuild it. I'm still
exciting.
trying to rebuild it. And that's the thing is, since my diagnosis, for other reasons, I was in counselling, and I've looked back over my entire life, and the biggest thing is it's not my fault. But then I also sit there and go, it's kind of not one person's fault either. I can't blame someone because people generally do the best with the information they have at the time. And we have come a long way.
Yeah. We have come a long way.
So I can't sit there and go, oh, it's their fault. It's like, well, it's not their fault. It's the way it was. I've just now got to kind of reprocess all of those things. And it's things like on the podcast, I learned about how I write my essays is an ADHD way, but I wasn't allowed to at school. So therefore I struggled. And it's just all these little things that, and it's interesting is lady in office, Alex, was talking to me this morning going, you don't seem as worried. You seem happier. You don't seem to pace. And it's literally little things. It is because I am kind of worrying less what other people think of me. I'm also getting positive feedback because the way I do it, actually people like, or things like that. And I'm literally going, yeah, I'm not trying to conform and I'm not failing at conforming. I'm just being me and it's working. I think that's okay.
Being your authentic self comes easier to some than it does to others. Neurokin, without a shadow of a doubt, have helped me on that journey, without a shadow of a doubt. But I do think that what we reach towards, we grow towards, with the correct information, your affirming information, your inclusive information, whatever word you want to use, which is in favour now, might disappear in years to go and replaced by something else, is so important. And like I said, I think on the previous one, if it wasn't for some individuals who I still know, my journey, if I'd realised I was autistic in 1990 or something like that, my journey would have been very, very different. So though my journey's been complex, mental health issues and lots of other stuff, I am still a product of my history now. Yes. And I have to respect that history and what I'm able to do with it. I hope is useful. Yeah.
That's the thing. You can't change the history. You can change your perception on certain events. So you can change that. But also it's, I was going to go somewhere. It's completely gone. That will be your authentic self.
Mm.
You can only do that with the right people around you.
Mm. Or I'm going to say, or with the right entity around you. The first entity I began to be my true autistic self with when Mrs. Pebbles the Whippet. And if some of you know me out there, you know I'm talking about. She's passed, but she was so important in my journey as an autistic individual. I know people out there, horses, giant snails, cats, for them, they've been a grounding. Or items, objects for some, yeah? But you are right. This is going back to Luke Ben. Autism plus the environment. If that environment is people, then it works as well.
For some people, the family you're born into is not your right family. They are not the people to support you. You might have to wait and find another family. Might not be a biological family, but you can have other types of family. And that's the sort of thing. It's got to be people who accept you for who you are. So you in the previous podcast, Tigger, you talked about, it's just the way he is. No judgment around you. Yeah. So Tigger will just be at a party, have lots of fun, then just disappear without saying goodbye. There's no judgment. It's accepting. And it's that sort of thing when people accept you for who you are, with or without a diagnosis, doesn't matter. That allows you to be your authentic self while you are having to impress people, while you are having to, if you're going to your family's house as a grown up and having to put a mask on to walk in that house, that's not great. That's not great. And I literally gone, yeah, I sometimes do that. Obviously, when you try and impress your girlfriend's family, you are doing that. But the whole point is as they get to know you, you should be able to take that mask off.
Every environment should, and I think it's, for everybody's different experiences and so on. But I still go back to, so why are some professionals hell-bent on denying your existence, my existence, and the existence of our neurokin, and making us wear suits and wear ties, as the example was, and fit in and, adhere to a certain diagnostic criteria that is, really
I'm trying to remember an advert which would have been in the 80s or 90s. And in my head, it was about doing the kind of the work run, like going into London in a suit and conforming. And then there was just somebody walking the other way, completely different. And it was about, I can't remember, it was either a chocolate or a drink or something, but it kind of changed your life and you didn't have to conform. I can't remember what the advert is. I can see it, but I can't tell you what the product was at the end. And it was just this, and that's what I think about it is, you, Tigger, are that person walking the other way, doing your thing. And there are all these people going the other way, kind of, no, this is what you have to do. By me being the same as everyone else, it gives me comfort. And you walking the other way is not right. I don't understand. You shouldn't be doing that. You need to conform. That's kind of, I know we're getting a bit George Orwellian here type thing, but it is kind of that sort of thing is, I don't understand why you're doing that, so you shouldn't. Is kind of where my head start, when people start talking in this research and trying to, it's like, why can't I? Why can't you? I'm walking this way doing what I want. Why can't you do what you want? Why do you have to?
I mean, there are theories out there about, why difference is scary to the human species and so on and so forth. And conformity means, that tribal aspect of moving forward and so on and so forth. All those different things that are out there, like from a societal, anthropological viewpoint, whatever, because they're long words for me. Definitely couldn't spell them. But I still think to myself, this is 2024. We've theoretically, and in some ways have moved on a lot, which is great. So why still do myself and so many of our neurokin across the UK and the world, why do people sit there and go, you're not a professional, or we're not going to listen to you, or you've got it wrong, or it's the triad of impairment or dyad of impairment. I still see triad, it's 2024. Or, I am sorry, I know more about autism than you do. And why? And I've got to go back to, I think there's some people might be neurodivergent, they don't know, and they're stuck on that railway track. Please explore monotropic theory. But also, is it, for somebody, this is my job, this is my livelihood? Is it the money? Is that my department needs X, Y, and Z, my area needs X, Y, and Z? I don't know. But I have to say again, there are some incredibly beautiful, awesome professionals out there who, and I did something for the PDA space on one of my things for them at their conference. And it was how important those people are to change in society, to change in the lives of you and me and our neurokin and families, how incredibly important that professional is for all these labels. And I'm sorry about using the labels. A neurotypical professional, I don't know any other way to say it. I've been saying this for years now. I want to find a better way of saying it. But at the end of the day, a neurotypical professional that goes, do you know what? That's an interesting theory. Can we explore it with you? You know what? I haven't heard of that. Have you got any information on it? And can we have a natter? When, to me personally, autistic Tigger, neurodivergent Tigger, when a professional does that, I then might say to them, can I hug you? Yeah. I'm a hugger from a sensory viewpoint. Yeah. I respect it when people don't. And because the difference they can make. Because so at the end of the day, autistic Tigger comes along, says X, Y, and Z. Some professionals will go, oh, he's just one of those autistic guys, up himself and blah, 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 blah. But I know he's wrong. But then if one of their peers goes, well, actually, hang on a minute, I've been exploring this. That's really interesting too. Can we look a bit more at it? They're more likely to hear. So it's like I don't know what the term is, a halfway house, something. I don't know what the correct term is, but they're more likely to listen. That's why those professionals that get it in my world are so gorgeously important, because they, along us, are allies. That's a narrative that's changing. But I still hear and meet, on regrettably, as so many of our neuro can do on a regular basis, some professionals that hold those purse strings and all the other stuff and go, no, 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 no. But I do honestly believe it's changing, because I'm also an optimist at heart.
So earlier I said, one red flag, jigsaw symbol. Second red flag, if they say the word all autistic or all neurodivergent, a big red flag. Third one, Ted Lasso again. If they are not interested in what you're saying, if they are not curious, they are judgmental. And that's the sort of thing is, I listen, and I learn on every single podcast. Now, Tigger might have not actually brought any single one bit of new knowledge to me, but he had told me his journey, his experiences, which goes into my very big pile. He has taught me stuff, just to be very clear. But it is that sort of thing, is hearing someone else's story of the same experiences as you are learning. I am curious. I am interested. As soon as I start literally getting to the point of going, I don't care, it's over for me. And that's the sort of thing, is everyone listening to this is curious. All the people who you recommend the podcast or anything where someone learns, they are curious. Now, I know in certain parts of my life, I am judgmental. I am judgmental about cryptocurrency. I'm slightly curious, but I've just run it's a pyramid scheme, and that's that. But in every other aspect, I'm generally curious. I'm generally going, I don't know. And I don't know what goes back to that kind of consciously competence, all that sort of stuff. You don't know what you don't know. All that sort of stuff is, I don't know what I don't know. Even if I think I know, what's the harm of checking? Do I know? Just go from that point of, I don't know, and you'll always be fine.
I feel I don't know what they're called. They're called memes or something. The things I do on Canva, I don't know what they're called, but I feel one of those after this, where I will quote you, in brackets, Ted Lasso, yeah, and go, be a curious professional. Because that's cool, isn't it?
It's one of those really simple Ted Lasso little memes. It is, you can search it, but it is literally, it is probably one of the most deepest quotes. Be curious, not judgmental. It's 4 words, but it's so, I know, literally, you didn't see me doing it on my fingers either.
Right, yeah, sorry.
Be curious, not judgmental. Yeah, it is. But it is 4 words. It's so deep. It is untrue. And you literally, when your child comes to you and they've broken something, be curious, not judgmental. When this happens, be curious, not judgmental. When your flight's delayed, be curious, not judgmental. Yeah. Everything you do, be curious, not judgmental. You'll have a better, happier life.
So I think, as we're organically coming to an end, I guess, that's a brilliant way to end it, because it starts off with, why are so many? We've explored that. And now what we're saying is, well, do you know what? Really, be curious, not judgmental, and you may well find there's a wealth of information there from a huge amount of families, individuals, and our new kin that will be beneficial for every soul on the planet. And so I am going to put it into a meme. I'll send it to you and say, is this all right? Yeah. Be curious, not judgmental. And I think to give that as a signpost to some professionals, because some already are curious, Evan, yeah, the ones that want to hug all the time. Be curious, not judgmental is an excellent quote. And I've watched many a clip of Ted Lasso. I really need to start from the beginning and watch it all the way through.
Okay, so
I think I will.
You need to.
Yeah.
And for those, I'm not going to spoil anything because that's the sort of thing. Spoilers. But that scene, the playing darts.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he sits there and goes, he says something. I'm not going to say what it is. I'm not going to give you any hint of what it is, but he says a load of stuff as part of that. Be curious, not. He says a load of other stuff. When you get to the end of the 4 series, or however many series, 3 series, whatever it is, you rewatch that. More information came later in the show. More information came about that. Okay. And it was when you sit there and going, oh, and it is why there's a certain bit. I'm not going to, when you watch it, come back and I'll explain what I'm on about, but I'm not going to say it. But when you rewatch that scene, you're like, ooh.
I'm going to be honest. Is there's clips that come up to me late at night, yeah, and I watch them when I'm defragging, if I can call it that, because I can't sleep, so I catastrophize. I need to focus on something before I fall asleep with my routines. But I love the quote. Be curious.
It's such a good quote.
I absolutely love it.
But also, Ted Lasso, he says, "I'm not here to win matches. I'm not here to win. I'm here to make my players better human beings." It's not about the winning. If you improve them as human beings, they will win.
I like that as well.
And it's like going, my gosh. And then he sits there and he rips it's just so, it's so many bits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's the other thing as well. It's not a competition here
No.
between an autistic professional and I hate the labels in some ways, I mean, you're a typical professional. We're here to make things better for everybody. Then why? Why? Yeah. But sorry, going to go back to it. It's a brilliant way to end it. Be curious, not judgmental. I'm going to tap out on my Canva later on this afternoon. I'll send it to you guys. Is this all right? And I'll share it. And that's from that the little bit the autistic community have cool when I do my little Canva things for them. We'll share that.
But that's
brilliant.
Literally, one of the things like, what quote do I need? Generally, that one will do the most. Then I got my Mark Twain quote, and that generally covers me for quotes.
Gosh.
Another one, which is also from The Big Short. Truth is like poetry, and most people hate poetry.
But I wouldn't go back to it. Be curious, not judgmental. I think is a beautiful quote to send those professionals that need a bit of help on their journey.
Yes, without a
those
doubt.
Those are already doing it, and they are so cool and so important.
They are.
We want more.
Yes, we do. So, thank you for coming on the show today.
We've spent the whole morning together, haven't we? It's like lush.
We have spent 4 hours, and I'm actually going to be late for my next meeting, which is in 2 minutes' time. But that's fine.
I've got one at 1 o'clock as well. Which is why I thought we better. But
we need to wrap up. It's 4 hours we've been chatting to, and we've done about an hour, 2 hours of recording, 2 hours of chatting, 2 hours of recording. So, speed through. But no, loved it, absolutely enjoyed it. And I've also wanted to do a podcast with you on Makaton, but I haven't mentioned that, so I've just mentioned that now. So we'll do that soon. Fine. And as always, I've got loads of links for Tigger, so you'll find those in the show notes, which, as always, is wherever you listen to the podcast and also on the Zencast website. Thank you for listening. If you haven't subscribed already, click on that subscribe button. Follow us on social media, on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and now TikTok. We are just the Zencast, so you'll find us easily. And if you're struggling to show progress, if your assessment process is overcomplicated, takes too long, it doesn't actually help you plan the next things, doesn't actually inform learning, have a look at the B Squared website or book a free online meeting with me so I can take you through our software. We have a range of assessment products to help all schools to show the small steps of progress all pupils make. So whatever age, whatever ability, we have assessment content and frameworks to suit. And if you're a primary school in England who want to use one assessment system for all pupils instead of one for your SEND and one for your pupils working at age-rate expectations, get in contact. And if your assessment system isn't helping you improve learning, again, get in contact. You can also find out about our online training. You can read our blog, watch our webinars. I've done a nice one on Autism Progress, our autism profiling tool on there. It's all on the B Squared website. You'll find a link to the website and to book a meeting with me in the show notes as well. So thank you for listening. We'll be back next week with another episode of the Zencast. It's goodbye from me.
This has been lush. And it's goodbye from me. Thank you so much. It's been an absolutely brilliant morning.
I can't wait for the next one.
Woohoo!
Bye.
Bye.